church has left the building. Let's all just take a deep breath. I'm going to turn myself on here. So, it was the best of time. It was the worst of times. How fitting is that for 2020? 2020 was a unique leap year. It had 29 days in February, 300 days in March, and 5 years in April. But there's been worse times. There have really been worse years. This is by a long shot not the worst year in history. Consider that in 1933, in the depths of the Depression, the Nazis came to power. That was not a great year. But historians agree that the worst year in history was 536 AD, when the skies went dark for 18 months. The sun was not seen. This cloud rolled over Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. They later realized that it was due to a massive earthquake in, I think, Iceland. But for 18 months, there was no sun. So the crops all died, it got cold, people died. It was literally the dark ages. So relatively speaking, 2020 wasn't such a bad year. And there were some good things that resulted from the bad things. Bad things gave rise, they were exposed and gave rise to some good things happening. So we all know that there were protests against police brutality and symbols of Confederate and colonial style oppression of our Indigenous people. And these protests have brought millions of people to the streets all over the world. Anti-racist books are now topping the bestseller lists. Telemedicine is making it easier to get to see the doctor faster, even if it is on Zoom. Way more people are washing their hands, and Americans and Canadians have adopted thousands of shelter pets. So while this year sometimes seems especially hard, there are silver linings, because out of the coronavirus comes creativity. Out of quarantine comes extra time with our family, and out of activism comes changes for the better. For instance, remember when we were kids and we had a box of crayons and we had 8 colors, and then they started adding some and there was a color called flesh? Remember that? Crayola realizes what they have done. They have now released a whole range of flesh colors. Good move. A 103-year-old woman beat coronavirus and celebrated with a Bud Light. Remember that one? NASA renamed its Washington, D.C. headquarters for Mary W. Jackson, the first female Black engineer. Homemade bread made a comeback, and I had 2 great-grandchildren. So it wasn't all bad. We all learned how to do a whole lot of techie things we never thought we would. And we at Unity of Nanaimo never missed a Sunday until almost today. Thanks to Leslie and Thomas, who jumped right in as soon as our first in-person Sunday had to be canceled. And you know, we reached 855 people that week. People were hungry. We've become proficient at using Facebook and Zoom and YouTube, opening up a whole new vista of ways that we can reach more and more people with our message while maintaining connections with our already people. And that's the challenge that's ahead of us. In this time of connecting in new ways, many small churches and spiritual centers that couldn't adapt have dwindled and closed. Because people can now go online and just Google and choose from about 250 church services that are going on at this time. It follows that folks are going to shop around and they're going to find the ones they like best. They may or may not come back and buy locally. They may find somebody in California or England that they prefer. And people from all over the world may choose to prefer us. So we have the potential, if we do it right, to grow hugely online. And we still are maintaining an average of more than 200 people on Facebook every week, plus people on Zoom. And our meditations are reaching 30 to 60 people every day. So we're learning to do it right. And we will continue to do that. We will grow our online presence. And we also need to continue to learn to do things differently. because today's different isn't going to be the same as tomorrow's different. We need to be creative and offer something that nobody else is offering. So the thought occurs to me that maybe we ought to start paying our ministers less and our musicians and technicians more. I think that's the way of the future, don't you? Don't you? So yes, church has left the building, and we will continue to have church leave this building and go out into the world. We will continue to do that. And we will be back in the building. We will be back. People want one or both of two things from their spiritual community. One, they want the teaching, the inquiry, the guidance, the going deeper, the mystic experience. And two, they want a sense of connection and community. I had a gentleman in Winnipeg who'd be coming to the center there for 16 years. And he told me, I don't come for the teaching, I come for the community. And then he took a class. Wow, right. So yes, we're doing pretty well at getting our teaching out there. What about our need to connect for community, for personal contact? How can we alter that and adapt that and keep making that available? Well, most mornings I stay in bed for at least a half an hour after I wake up if I can. It's my kind of my meditation day, my visioning day. I just lie there and I ask Spirit, well, what's up for today? What do you want me to do today? What do you want me to say today? It's my visioning time. Now, visioning is different from visualizing, because visualizing is informing Spirit what it is you'd like to have happen and making affirmations and going for that and knowing that Spirit is working with you. But vision is asking and listening to what is needed, not what you want, but what's needed and wanted to happen in our world, and watching and waiting. And sometimes you get ideas that way. Thing is, you can't always be sure your ideas are coming from Spirit because your little ego likes to get in there and filter them out, but it's a good place to start. And they come through your already held beliefs sometimes, and sometimes they contradict what you think you know, but we need to be open. But they're things to think about and explore and see where they lead. Consider new things, because in this time, we have to keep adapting and changing. So there's a thing that's been hanging out in my head lately from my visions. For some people, the highlight of Sunday service is coffee time, is sitting together with their friends and connecting and sharing after service. Now, we used to pack 8 people at every table very close together in our coffee room after service. We will probably never be able to do that again. And frankly, I welcome not having to set up tables and put the daycare away and get the daycare out again every week. I'm getting a little old long in the tooth for that, to be hefting those tables around. So how else can we do that? We can't do that anymore. Is there another way we can have coffee time back again? Well, this is the little picture that's coming to my mind. Some of you know that the board has considered in the past finishing the garage bay area. And we talked about a recording studio one time this flash came, thinking, and this time there might be a need for that. Well, now they tell us that within a year, everybody on their phone is going to have everything you need to have your own perfect recording studio. But the board is still investigating the requirements and the cost. But here's my what if. So Nico has decided to stop traveling the world and settle down in Nanaimo. And he wants his main thrust to be choir director. And he wants to form at least 4 choirs. He needs a music center. He needs a music studio. What if we made that room a multi-purpose room and moved our state-of-the-art equipment over there? And Nico could rehearse choirs and film choir concerts. And actually, Nico and Joelle and Rick Scott were looking for a place to do a concert. There's a lot of great musicians around town, and they're not getting the gigs at the big centers anymore, and may not be for a while. So what's needed is an intimate space, right? So what if we took our equipment over there? Nico could rehearse, and other musicians, we could have a whole series of house concerts over there, great musicians, with a small audience and a huge audience out there with our great equipment. What if? And especially if we could find musicians who are familiar with our kind of music, or we're willing to compose our kind of music. So here's the part that rattled my head. Okay, I can see that happening, but what if we moved our drums and our keyboard and maybe a guitar player and a bass player over there? There'd be room enough for them, all our audiovisual equipment and team, and a small audience, right? Now, with the equipment out of the big room, we can now place 10 or 12 tables here with 4 or 5 people at them, much less densely distributed. And those of you who haven't been in this room since COVID don't know, but we now have 4, count them, 4 TV screens mounted in this room. So people could sit at their tables and watch the service and sing. And after the service, they could stay there just as long as they like, drinking coffee and talking. What about that? What about that? I don't know. That's the idea that's in my head. And that's the kind of ideas we need everybody to come forward with. How can we do things differently? And let's check it out and see how it's working. The rest of my vision is those people who the coffee is not the primary purpose for their being here, but they want to go deeper. They may be feeling more introverted and introspective that day. There's room for a small audience over there who could then stay there and do a talk the talk circle, share their insights and things. Lots of different ways we might be able to do things differently. That's just the idea that I've had in my head. What's yours? What's yours? You know, looking forward, knowing we can never be back the way it was, but knowing we're going to get through this, what are all the different ways we can do things differently? And we're going to have to do things differently. Perhaps many times we'll have to adapt and readapt. How flexible can we make ourselves so that whatever circumstances arise, we can respond and we can continue our mission, always remembering that our mission, the reason we're here, is transforming and enriching lives through spiritual awareness. And I think we've done a stellar job of staying on purpose to that mission throughout this pandemic. We've not only been able to maintain our Sunday services, but we've expanded them into social media. We've learned how to utilize Zoom for meetings and classes. We've attracted enough followers to have our own YouTube channel. And we have financially and morally supported other Canadian Unity Centres. So I reminded you previously that this centre is committed to returning 10% of every dollar that comes in back out into the community. Previously, we had banked last year's tithes and had not dispersed them. So early in the pandemic, we were able to send out significant checks to 11 Unity Centres across Canada, which so very much appreciated as people dealt with their fear and their uncertainty and their anxiety. Many of you watched as we presented Grace Nielsen from Tilcombe Laleham Society with $1,500. Earlier this year, we had also presented $1,000 to Island Crisis Care Society and approximately $750 each to Nanaimo Food Share, Unity of Mississauga, who is in the position where they need to sell their building, and until they have income from the sale of that building, they need a little extra help. And we also sent money to the International Association for Transformation, which is the school in the Philippines that Thomas referred to earlier. So as well as the typhoons, they've also had to adjust to children. They have a 4-hour walk to the school, and they have to come and get their lessons on a little memory stick and share a computer. They're really dealing with a lot of stuff. So it's a great pleasure to be able to help them out. So we've done good work together, and we will continue to do good work together. We, all of us. Together we'll get through all of this, and we will do what's given to us to do, and we will be grateful. You know, I've often said we wouldn't appreciate morning if we didn't have night. We wouldn't appreciate spring if we didn't have winter. And we wouldn't appreciate all the good if we didn't have some bad. Good times are coming. So I invite you to join me now in just relaxing into a quiet meditative state. And I'll ask you to do a little visioning with me. just opening to hear anything from Spirit has to tell you, and it may come in the form of a word or an image or a color or just a feeling. So just ask yourself quietly now, what is wanting to happen at Unity of Nanaimo? What is my part to play? What can I do for myself to enable me to contribute? Thank you. And I invite you in the next few days, instead of affirming what it is you want, to be asking yourselves these kind of questions, both for your own life and for our spiritual center. What is wanting to unfold here, and how can we help? I think that's about all I got to say. Namaste. Do we have a song?
Ready for a miracle, ready for a miracle, ready for a miracle today. I've got my mind in tune for one, ready for a miracle, ready for a miracle today. Ready to experience one, ready for a miracle, ready for a miracle today.
My mind is open, ready to receive it.
Ready for a miracle today. Ready for a miracle today.
My mind is open, ready to receive it. My heart is open all over.
I do accept the miracle. I do accept the miracle. I do accept the miracle today.
Now that was a miracle.
Can you guys not see it? It's on that. It's on those strings.
Oh.
We cut it off because we were all off.
It's okay. It's all right. 2020.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, 2020. Goodbye. A release, how did it go?
I think we got that coming up, actually.
Yes.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Let's cut the songs.
What's next?
Well, just
What's next?
who knows?
I think it's a Nico solo, actually.
That's a Nico solo. So we're just going to turn things over to Mr. Nico Rhodes.
I don't know what's happened to this slideshow.
Okay. That's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay. I'll play something to calm myself down.
more time.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. And I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Prayer for protection. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Nico. Please join me in our prayer for protection.
The light
That is God surrounds me. I am one with the light. The love that is God enfolds me. I am one with the love. The power that is God protects me. I am one with the power. The presence that is God watches over me. I am one with the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well, and so it is.